Hi, this is Scott Grant, and I'm here today with Grace DeLaRosa.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tell me the name, DeLaRosa. You say it. You say it first.
Grace DeLaRosa. It's just Grace DeLaRosa.
But it sounded better.
It sounded spicy, right?
Yeah, I was thinking, Spanish
Yes.
soap opera kind of star. And starring Grace DeLaRosa.
Well, so let me tell you a little bit about the background of that. So I'm Filipino and Spanish.
Okay.
My parents are both Filipino and Spanish, so each one has a parent that's straight from Spain. So that wasn't a surprise. I did 23andMe, and I learned some amazing things, okay? The first thing is I never in a million years would have known that I had Chinese in me. I'm Chinese, Hawaiian, Norwegian, English, and sub-Saharan African, which I'm guessing, maybe Egyptian.
No, could be, but sub-Sahara is below the Sahara, so that's interesting. I did mine, and I was almost entirely Scottish and English.
Okay.
But now they also tell me that those things aren't 100% accurate.
Right.
We met initially when I did a historical presentation, and it was about the 1942 submarine attack off of Jacksonville Beach. The Germans come right up to the coast and they sink this oil tanker, and it burns and blows up a couple, 4 or 5 miles off the coast, and people stood there and watched. So you came. And you kind of came out of the blue and you introduced yourself, and that's how we met, right?
That's exactly how we met. I found your presentation fascinating because of my ignorance in history, first and foremost. And here I am speaking with a historian and listening, and I really appreciated the fact that you were there for me to learn. Who would have thunk, in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra, that we had a taste of history, huge history, worldwide history, and we're here in Jacksonville.
Well, yeah, no, it's in 1942, and what's interesting, or one of the things that's interesting, is that there are two events in 1942, because later the saboteurs come to Ponte Vedra, and they land in Ponte Vedra Beach. So you have these two events in 1942 that basically 2 months apart that are significant, in World War II history, and they do occur here. People tend to know more about the saboteurs. So back to your kind of where you're from. Are you born in Jacksonville? Are you from Jacksonville?
So I'm going to say Jacksonville is my home. I grew up in Atlantic Beach. Moved here in the 70s, maybe 1977. I believe I was 10 at the time.
So you've been here a long time.
I've been here, but on and off because, so my dad came here. He was in the Navy. So I'm a veteran Navy daughter, sister, mother, spouse, because then I ended up marrying. I'm like, I'm never going to marry a military guy. I don't want this lifestyle, picking up, moving, and no kind of stability for the children or anything like that. So what did I do? I married a Navy pilot.
Oh, pilot. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, strike fighter pilot. So, the Blue Angels jets.
Oh, he flew those. He actually flew the Blue Angel jets.
He did not fly with the Blue Angels, but he flew the Blue Angel jets.
The same kind of jet.
Correct.
Well, I've spoken to a number of naval organizations, including trying to remember the exact name, the fighter pilots, retired aviators, because it was just Navy.
Okay.
Naval Aviators Association. There we go. It was NBAA. I'm not sure what the other A stands for, but Naval Aviators, maybe NAVA. That would make sense, right? Naval Aviators Veterans Association.
Your guess is as good as mine.
And there were guys. Well, it was funny because I sat next to a guy named Lobster, and I talked to Lobster, but I was also speaking, and you know how those things go. And later, somebody says to me, "Yeah, Lobster. Lobster is a 4-star admiral, right?" And I said, "I wish I'd known that, because I like to get my picture taken whenever I meet an admiral or a general of any kind. It's like, get a picture, selfies." Because I think I do the speeches at so many military places. Okay, we're going to break. Mike's going to pick out some music for us, and then we're going to be back with Grace DeLaRosa.
We've only just begun to live. White lace and promises, a kiss for luck and we're on our way.
We've only begun.
Before the rising sun we fly. So many roads to choose. We start out walking and learn to run.
And yet we've just begun.
Sharing horizons that are new to us, watching the signs along the way. Talking it over, just the two of us, working together day to day, together. And when the evening comes, we smile. So much of life ahead. We'll find a place where there's room to grow.
And yes, we've just begun.
Sharing horizons that are new to us, watching the signs along the way. Talking it over, just the two of us, working together day to day, together, together. And when the evening comes, we smile. So much of life ahead. We'll find a place where there's room to grow. And yes, we've just begun.
Hi, this is Scott Grant, and I'm here with Grace DeLaRosa. And Grace, we were talking before the break about you coming to see me speak, and that was at the Alhambra Dinner Theater.
That's right.
Do you know Craig Smith, the owner? Are you? What brought you there that day? That's one of my questions. I had that day, and I still
just
do.
happened to see something pop up, I think, on Facebook where your presentation was advertised, and that's how I found you. It was just out of the blue. But I don't believe in coincidence, so I had to follow that.
I don't think I believe in coincidence either. I think things happen for a reason a lot of times.
Yes, they do.
Now, maybe that's just a delusion, but I think if it is a delusion, it's a good one to have.
Exactly.
So, in any event, in that Alhambra, have you been to the Alhambra a lot?
No, not since then. I haven't.
The Alhambra's a neat place. It's a famous place. Craig Smith was the owner. We actually had him on the show. It's 52 years old, and he's owned it for about 10 years.
No, I do know that it is the one of the last few running dinner theaters in America, actually. That's a little bit of a tidbit of a history for you, right?
It is. Thanks for sharing that.
So I did perform at the Alhambra once before, probably back in 2013 or 14 when I was acting. I had the pleasure of doing a live play there for 3 days. The run was for 3 days, and I worked with actress Tina Lifford from California. She actually did a lot of work with Clint Eastwood, stuff like that. Very famous actors. And so I was really excited to be able to do such a phenomenal project with her on stage at the Alhambra.
And what was the name of the play that you were in?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that, and my memory is not doing me any justice at this morning with that. But it was a very empowering show about women and for women.
Okay. And you were in that, and did you do a lot of acting? Were you in a lot of plays?
I wasn't in a lot of plays. The other one that I had done was for human trafficking, another play. Here was my thing. My niche in the world of acting was everything that I didn't want, and it was commercials and what we call in the industry industrial videos, which are in layman's terms, training videos for corporations. So corporate training videos. I did work for Homeland Security, the Bureau of Prisons. I did work for, the IRA. And these are the videos that they show the new agents or agents that are learning new topics.
The IRA. I want to hear
IRS. I'm
IRS.
sorry.
I said the same thing. I was like, oh, so you're working for the.
I want to see you with a big gun in your hand.
Was it the Irish Republican Army? And I said, yeah, no, I think she probably meant the IRS. But okay, so that's still acting, and you have where you would act out roles. You weren't producing these. You were actually in the movies.
I was in the videos, yes.
Yeah,
and
the training videos.
That's right. And then the other stuff I did included, my own marketing. We talked about marketing our business, and then I was trying to get a grassroots campaign started called Be a Blue Buddy, and that was for colon cancer. I did that because I had colon cancer. I got colon cancer at the age of 38, of all things. And here I was, a fitness competitor. I was in the fitness industry. I ate well 80% of the time and worked out. It was, and then I get colon cancer of all things, really?
So it doesn't just plague unhealthy people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's, there's a belief, and there's a long-held belief for the past couple generations that if you do everything correctly, the bad things won't happen, and that's not the truth, unfortunately. As we all kind of learn at some point, that all good things or bad things happen to good people kind of statement.
Well, and it's not necessarily that either. I'm sorry, Jennifer, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. So what I was going to say was I knew something was wrong and off when I got colon cancer because of how I took care of myself. I ate well. I did. I was mindful of what I ate. I had kids. Yeah, I'm going to eat cheese doodles or whatever from time to time, okay? Or pizza.
Well, that's one of the things too. That's one of the. That's actually one of the things too. You got this new generation of millennials, and they wanted to eat everything perfect and do everything perfectly. And I always think to myself, yeah, wait till you have kids.
Exactly. But even then, I raised my children with good foods. My children snacked on fruits. And yeah, they're going to have chips, okay? But we're not perfect, and I don't aspire to be. Do I strive to be? Sure, but I know that I will never be anywhere near that. So in terms of health, so I knew something was off, and I knew that there was something genetically involved in that. So one of my passions, Scott, is research. I love research.
Me too, actually. You know what though? Jennifer's giving me a sign. We got to go to break. We will come back and we will talk some more about that and the fitness modeling. I want to hear more about that.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away. I've got to get away from the pain you drive into the heart of me. The love we share seems to go nowhere, and our love's not right. For I toss and turn, I can't sleep at night. Once I read to you, now I run from you. The tender love you're giving, I give you all a girl can give you. Take not, give that's not living. Oh, tainted love, tainted love. Now I know I've got to run away. I've got to get away. You don't really want any love from me to make things right. You need someone to hold you tight and who think love is to play. Well, I'm sorry, I don't play that way. Once I read to you, now I run from you. The tender love you give, I give you all a girl can give you.
Hi, Scott Grant here with Grace DeLaRosa. And I got to say, I still love that name. It's a great name. Kids, say it again.
Grace DeLaRosa.
That's wonderful. Okay, so before the break, you were talking about doing some industrial films, and you mentioned a name, and the name's Clint Eastwood. And it's a name that's special to me. I love Clint Eastwood movies. I love Clint Eastwood. And I actually met him when I was 12 years old. And we were on top of a mountain in Switzerland, the Jungfrau, and my mother, who would have been, I don't know how old at that point, close to 40, I guess, said, that guy over there is famous. Go ask him what his name is. And I think she had to ask me a couple times. I think I was shy first. Finally, I walked over to this guy, and I said, I says to him, where does that come from? I said to him, my mom says you're famous. Who are you? And he looks at me, and he's with a really attractive woman, a very attractive woman. And he says, have you ever been to the Sunoco station at 167th Street in Oakland? I work there. And I looked at him. I was like, no, you don't work at the Sunoco station. And finally he says, tell your mom I'm Clint Eastwood. So I go back and tell my mom Clint Eastwood. So that ever since, he was there filming a motion picture called The Iger Sanction with George Kennedy. And that's a really old movie, but that's why I was there. So I met Clint Eastwood. But
how in the world have I never heard this story
That's
from
amazing.
you in 3 years?
You know what's interesting? When they did the Rotary, we sat at the table at Rotary, and we had the day where you all tell each other something.
Yes.
I guess the question was specifically, who's the most famous person you've met? And I actually met the Queen of England once when I was an exchange student. So that's a good one, but it's not as good a story as the Clint Eastwood story. So I said Clint Eastwood. So
Yes.
I have told that story occasionally. But yes, I was thinking about it when you've never heard that one.
Playboy bunnies don't count.
The Playboy Bunny story is a good one too, but we're not doing that today.
Okay, well, speaking of Playboy Bunny, you asked about my fitness thing, and
sure.
kind of led me. I was a Playboy model at one point too. So
Wow.
Oh, I did not know that. What I did know was I saw a picture on your social media of
Yes.
you, and I believe you were in a Hawaiian tropic
I
contest.
was.
And that I did see, and I said,
Yes.
okay, when Grace DeLaRosa comes on the air, I'm going to ask her about being in the Hawaiian tropic contest, but a Playboy model as well. Tell us something. I'm sure you have interesting stories. I'm sure you know what the stories are. Tell me just a good story from that period.
Well, all I can say is, I'm 52. I hold no bones about my age, because age really is just a number. I still feel like I'm 25.
Well, you look gorgeous
Well,
for any
you.
age, but
Thank you, Scott.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you. So I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday about how in that era, in the 90s, mid to late 80s, early 90s, I looked around and I found myself always surrounded by very beautiful women, for Hawaiian Tropic, for Eugenia Swimwear was another one that I modeled for in California. I was flown out that way. And then I always looked around and I said, oh my gosh, these women are absolutely beautiful. And I never once thought of myself as that. And now I look back.
A lot of beautiful women end up saying that. I mean, that's sort of a truism.
Huh.
That
I never
everybody
heard that.
everybody else thinks they're
Where was
beautiful, but they
I?
see they just see their flaws. I mean, that's one of the stories, right?
Well, that's exactly it. The thing is, looking back now, I look at the photos and I'm like, and what I do is I try to step away from that person, that was me then, and go, wow, I was actually an attractive young lady, and I never thought of it then. And what I've learned as I've matured over the years is I didn't have self-esteem. I did not love myself. And here I was surrounded by all of this material stuff that points to beauty, and I didn't see it and I didn't feel it.
Well, that's again unfortunate, and I feel what you're saying. I think we all feel inadequate in different kinds of ways. And talk about me doing this radio show. Talk about some of the other stuff I do. I don't think that I felt. I mean, I think I felt inadequate in some ways. That maybe that some of the stuff I wrote wasn't as good as it turns out it probably is. I'm willing to concede at this point. A lot of people told me recently they like the the book I wrote.
Well, see, that's the thing, Scott. You know, we're so hard on ourselves. We are artists.
Well, thank you. By the way, that's another topic I like.
We use different tools, of the trade. You've got a voice as your artwork, piece of artwork today. You do artwork when you do finances. You do numbers. You are an artist just the way you are, as a historian, as a presenter, and as my new friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're
making me blush. But also, artists, we talked about this, and I have been called an artist occasionally, and I like to think of what I do as art. But nobody's ever said it for the financial side. That sort of took me aback a little bit. But yeah, actually I am. We got to go to a break. We will be back with Grace DeLaRosa. Hi, this is Scott Grant, and I'm here with Grace DeLaRosa and Jennifer Price, and we've been talking about your career, and one of the things you mentioned was Clint Eastwood, and I told a Clint Eastwood story, which was, I guess, kind of interesting. But what I also would want to say is that Clint Eastwood gets his original credited acting role in a film filmed in St. Augustine, and that film was Return of the Creature. And I think that's the full name, but it might be Return of the Creature from the Black Lagoon. And Clint Eastwood, you're laughing. It's cute. So, and Clint Eastwood, he plays one of the scientists. So he's got a bit role, but he is credited, and it's his first credited appearance in any motion picture in St. Augustine.
Who would have thunk?
Did you know that the creature films? Are you familiar with the whole
Black Lagoon?
Are you familiar with the genre? Do you realize they're all filmed right here in our area?
I did not realize that. See, this is why I was meant to meet you. You can give me that background.
A lot of the scenes were filmed out near Palatka. Some of the scenes, particularly scenes in the second movie, which is The Return of the Creature, are filmed at Marineland, which was then called Marine Studios.
Okay.
And there's a bar fight scene in that movie that was filmed at a bar in Jacksonville Beach. So the second movie, we get even more airtime, but all of them were made here, and Clint Eastwood makes his debut in Return of the Creature from the Black Lagoon. So we were talking about movies. We were talking about entertainment. You did some fitness modeling, and I know you did the Hawaiian Tropic. Did you do a lot of those contests?
I did Venus Swimwear, Hawaiian Tropic, Eugenia Swimwear, which is based out in California. Those are the three major ones. I think that was going on in that culture.
I remember all of them.
Yes.
I don't know that I ever went to one, but I do remember all of them. I mean, I remember that they were around, and the pictures would often be in on the television or in magazines.
Yeah, and then I ended up because of those bikini contests. There was a group of girls. We called them circuit girls because I was one of them. We would go and do all these bikini contests, and that's how we made some extra cash and moved on to the next show, and out of that we got other jobs. Like I got a job as a ring card girl for HBO when they had a fight here, and I got to meet like and back then the Jaguars were new, to our city. So I got to meet Tony Baselli, Mark Brunell, and Mike Hollis.
And that was a fight here in Jacksonville.
Yes, that was a fight here in Jacksonville, and I got to speak with, Let's Get Ready to Rumble. What was his name? Oh, shoot. Good-looking man.
I know you're talking about, and I can't think of his name.
What is his name?
He's made a lot of money off of that phrase.
He has made a lot of money.
And he
we're talking about
you're
talking. Okay. I don't know that I ever thought that or noticed, but he may have been. But I do know the voice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody does. Let's get ready to rumble.
How cool was that?
Talk about making money off your voice.
That's right.
The guy that for many decades did the Yankees games, the home announcer, so in the stadium. I forget his name too, but he's famous voice, and there's other ones from sports. But the Let's Get Ready to Rumble, I think probably everybody knows. So you're doing these contests. Are you winning?
Oh yes, of course. I'm getting.
So you're a champion.
No, I'm not a champion. I was always like a runner-up or something.
I too walked in a Hawaiian Tropic
Yes,
bikini
girl.
contest, but guess what? I was booed off the stage. Do you know why? I chose to wear a whole piece.
Oh, how awesome is that? I love that.
I wanted to rock a whole piece.
I love
didn't
that.
have to wear a bikini
That's
to
right.
look sexy, but the crowd was not into that.
Well,
Do they still have these kind of contests these days? There's still bikini. I think, right?
I don't know.
I'm sure they do, and it's usually at bars and it's some like drinking.
Oh, speaking of
promotion.
bars, let's
go ahead.
there. So I went to Daytona for one of these bike things that they've got there recently. It was a motorcycle thing or other.
I know that they have those as well. Yeah. And partially I know because somehow I always end up getting stuck on 95.
With that traffic.
With the traffic. And you're like, oh, man, can't wait till I get past Daytona.
So, anyways, I've been recently enjoying some bike rides, motorcycle rides with some friends lately. But anyways, that I'm digressing.
What kind of a motorcycle?
One was a CVO, custom vehicle, whatever or other. It's like top of the line. You can spend so much money on these. You can buy a really nice car for these the price of the motorcycles, and I can feel the difference as a passenger, the differences in the quality of the bikes, and that CVO is probably the best bike that I have sat on as a passenger ever. It's like the Cadillac of.
We're going to have to find out who makes this CVO
and
see if they want to sponsor the show after this.
I love Harleys too. I'd love to learn how to ride and get my license for that. And what I want to do with that is one day to use that as like a fundraiser for some. I have no idea for what, but I'd love to do like a fundraiser kind of thing with a motorcycle ride.
I love that idea. I was thinking about doing a car show here in downtown Ponte Vedra, right here at Steadfast Asset Management. But what would be more creative, kick it up a notch, and do custom bikes.
Right? How cool is that?
I like that.
Why not have custom bikes with custom cars side by side?
I don't know that anybody's doing custom bikes. Okay, so apparently this segment, I'm the producer. We have to break for some music, and we will be right back.
Over bridge of sights, to rest my eyes in shades of green, under dreaming spires, to Ichiku Park, that's where I've been. What did you do there? I got high. What did you feel? all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. I'm inclined to blow my mind, get hung up beneath the decks with a bomb. They all come out to groove about, nice and have fun in the sun. I'll tell you what I'll do. What will you I'd like to go there now with you. You can miss out school. Won't that be? Why go to learn the words of what will we do there? We'll get high. But will we touch there? We'll touch the sky. But why the cheese there? I'll tell you why. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. To blow my mind, get hung up, beat the ducks with a bomb. They all come out to cool the minds, nice and have fun in the sun. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. Ha! It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful. It's all too beautiful.
Hi, this is Scott Grant. I'm here with Grace DeLaRosa. And before the break, you were talking about some of the contests you were in.
Yes.
And that, I guess, a lot of them were in bars. Is that right?
Yes, back in the day, we had to go into bars and, show our stuff. And, yes, like Jennifer said, get objectified for, a couple more hours and then
And
take off from
objectification is an issue that's grown. I mean,
That's right.
absolutely. And I think it's a bigger deal now than it was then, and certainly, a bigger deal than it was, say, back in the 50s. But did you feel objectified?
Not at that juncture of my life. I just knew that I enjoyed doing what I was doing. I loved bikinis. I loved showing off how the hard work that I put into my physique. And it wasn't anything, although the industry itself was vain, I was not. I did see a lot of that happening with younger women, vanity and,
Well, how vanity? When you say vanity, give me an example.
Vanity is more than just primping and looking beautiful and presenting the best you that there can be. Vanity includes the ineffectual way of expressing themselves as good as just human beings,
Well,
They're doing it for other reasons other than what should be.
Placing all of their self-value
Exactly.
in their look.
That's right.
And that's an addiction.
It is an addiction. And speaking of that,
Go ahead. That's where you want to get, right?
exactly where I want to go. So part of the things that I have been involved in recently have been in addictions, recovery from drug and alcohol abuse, and not just from substances, but from life itself. A lot of people are suffering from PTSD, traumas from childhood abuse and things of that nature. Domestic abuse, ties in with what's going on with our society, believe it or not. We have what's known as, and this is what I came across yesterday out of the blue, and again, I do not believe in coincidence. I actually came across a video that was entitled Corporate Bullying, and I'd never seen that before, ever.
Well, it makes sense that you're going to see that kind of stuff. A lot of attention is being focused on these issues. Bullying is one, bullying in the schools, bullying in the workplace, sure.
Cookies are for closers.
Well, there's a certain amount of, look, the way those corporations were built, there was a certain amount of, cookies are for closers. Actually, you're talking about the film version of Glenn Ross, and It's Alec Baldwin. What's he say? Leads are for closers?
Coffee.
Coffee. That's right. Coffee is for closers.
Put the coffee down.
Put the coffee down. Coffee is for closers.
The issue that I have with, the what we see as, a broken system in our society, everybody sees that. Everybody sees some kind of brokenness.
I think people do. I don't think society's broken. I personally think we go through these cycles. And that if you think back into the 1960s and 1970s, what we're going through right now is very similar to what we saw in the 60s and 70s. And again, you can go back, I think, to the late teens, early 20s, and you repeat the same thing. And it's youth, it's women, it's minorities. Yes. There's a lot of gender issues and even gender confusion.
Yeah, but when are we going to jump off the freaking hamster wheel of insanity? We're repeating history over and over again, and I think this time of the year, like right now, I'm seeing a change. We're finally seeing people waking up, and especially in the corporate America, I don't believe that, I heard somebody say, our system is broken and there's nothing we can do about it, and I'm here to say that I disagree wholeheartedly with that.
Well, I agree with you. I think we can.
And we can do it. I have a simple solution.
Oh, go ahead. You have a simple solution to all of our problems.
All of our woes.
Go ahead.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
It's changing ourselves. It's changing one person at a time. That's how we change the system. When we change ourselves, we think we're doing it for ourselves, but in all actuality, we're changing it for others. And in meditation, it's the very same thing,
Oh, do you meditate?
I do. I facilitate guided meditation.
Do you do the like that thing?
No,
that was popular.
You silly goose. No.
Oh, good. I like to hear that. Silly goose.
No, but that's it. It begins with us, and that's what I want to inspire in other people.
And I would say the same thing. You mentioned meditation. I often talk about love. We got to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to come right back to this as quickly as we can.
The day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side, yeah. Chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there. Can you still recall the time we cried? Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side.
Hi, Scott Grant. I'm with Grace DeLaRosa and Jennifer Price in our studios in downtown Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, recording our show. Welcome, Grace. Oh, you're dancing around, huh?
I am.
Well, welcome back. This is the final segment.
Darn.
Yeah, it's going by fast. Before the break, we were talking about people and objectification and fixing ourselves. And I agree. I think people often want to point to a politician and say that person's the problem. And it's like, well, no. We're the problem.
That's right.
And I think, from my point of view, you really just need to treat people like they're people.
Exactly.
And
with
then
dignity. With dignity.
With
That's
dignity.
all we want.
With dignity. And you talked about being a bikini model.
Yes.
And it would be easy, I bring it up because it would be easy to typecast somebody then,
That's right.
And certainly objectify them. But at the same time, you're a person. And I talk to athletes and cheerleaders is another one. And now a lot of intention and a lot of work and effort went into you being in those contests, right? And those traits are valuable to you now, right?
They are most valuable to me now because of the work that I do today. So I do a lot of work, again, with people in recovery, and that includes mental health, the whole field of mental health, and that's what people tend to forget about. We worry about what we look like on the outside, but tend to forget about what's on the inside. And mental health also includes what's inside our hearts and our minds. The thing is I work with people in the mental health, the MHRC, Mental Health Resource Center. It's our mental health ward, okay? I work there.
And where is this?
This is, one of the offices is off Beach Boulevard. I
Okay.
do some volunteer service work there. I do volunteer work with AA as well. I am in recovery myself.
So you're a friend of Bill W.
Bill's, that's right.
Okay.
I am a friend of Bill's, and let me tell you, it was a blessing in disguise. I did not realize that I had been in a very abusive relationship in my marriage of 20 years, and I found myself at the age of 50, 2 years ago, in jail. Never been in jail before.
Wow.
And I am a colon cancer survivor, and to have been put in a pen with two other women who were abused, one abused by her significant other, and she got sick and tired of it and shot him. And do you know, I cried because that was this position that I was in. I was being beaten, not just physically, that was toward the end, but it was emotionally, financially, financial control. I had no idea I was being abused with that, and there is such a thing as that,
Yes.
I'm seeing you getting very emotional, and I'm not sure. I think it's coming across on the radio as well. But you're telling us some stuff that's very personal to you. Is it helpful to share this with us and
it's
to share
very
this?
helpful because I can tell you what it is.
Tell us.
I'm a good person. I found myself in jail for the first time. I found myself in jail because I had gotten tired of being abused, and I lashed out. You hit your animal, you abuse an animal so many times and hit them in a corner so many times, and one day they will lash out. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I feel for you. You're not alone.
Well,
and I think the other thing to say to you is it's not your fault.
No, I know that now, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, There are people there that...
and you're trying to help other people.
Yes.
And so is this mostly women that we're talking about that you're trying to help?
Men and women. It's humans.
And and are the men's victims of abuse as well?
Yes, very
Okay.
much so.
Okay.
And, people are like, oh, that's just them. Well, no, it's you too. It's
Oh,
you.
yes.
You go to work. You go to work and you are abused whether you like it or not. When somebody, your boss, tells you, do this or else, that is abuse.
Okay. All right. And, we work sometimes with some of the veterans with PTSD,
Yes.
generally in a fundraising capacity of some sort. I'm either
Yes.
there giving a presentation or we're doing an event where we're going to give money. One of the things that people will say is that we have a lot more, or we recognize at least, a lot more of this in our modern society than we did, say, let's go back to 1950. A lot of those guys that came home from Vietnam, certainly the women who were left behind, there had to be a ton of abuse, all sorts of abuse, but we don't talk about it. And I think it's I will get your thought. I mean, I think it's good that we talk about it, but what are your
Yes.
thoughts about the fact that we are talking about these kinds of things more?
Well, let me say, I have so much to say about this topic because I am and have been overcoming PTSD myself. My entire life I was abused, my entire life. And I didn't know that until 2 years ago because of what I went through.
We're running out of time. What would you say to somebody out there listening to this right now who feels like you did a few years ago? What would you say to them? Where would you send them? Give them some advice.
I would send them to the Recovery Community Organization of Northeast Florida. It's a brand new organization that you will see.
Recovery
Community Organization, RCO,
of
of
Northeast
Northeast
Florida.
Florida.
Okay.
And that name may change. We are in the process of launching that organization.
All right. We got to go. I'd like you to come back.
I
Can
would
you do
like
that?
that very much so.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll be back next week. The Scott Grant Show is brought to you by Standfast Asset Management of Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Standfast is a fiduciary asset manager specializing in great American companies. We're proud of our disciplined approach to investing.